words, please. I'm coming. Soon, soon. Whoops. Hey, you guys want to win some prizes? Go to YouTube instead of watching it on Facebook, because Facebook sucks. So, what I'm going to do on the Facebook feed is add some really cool shit. Visit app. Whatever. I'll do it soon. Just give me a second, okay? Listen to Geezer. Courtesy of STB Records. Can you hear this okay? Motherfucker. I mean, just share share the feed. Pharoah. Motherfucker. There we are. Look at that. Hi. Hi. How are you? Now give me a second, because I gotta do two things on two different platforms. You know why? Because Facebook is a cunt. It's true. I promise I wouldn't lie to you. So please be patient with me, and we're gonna fix all this up, right? Because we're gonna turn that off and see if we get it right. Oh, would you look at that? Look at the professional. Why don't we remove that for now? Hey guys. So yeah, you're listening to some Geezer. I guess I should tell you what the name of the album is. Everything good? You hear Mike's alright? Everything's the way it's supposed to be? This album is called A Flagrant... Here. Can you see it? Yeah, you can see it. Looks better than me, doesn't it? This album is called A Flagrant Disregard for something or other. I already forgot. For Happiness, yes. And it was recorded live at the Hudson Valley Psych Fest in Kingston, New York on April Fool's Day of 2016. And it kept us company until now. And I hope you dug it. What we're going to try to do is get through a normal show this time. I can't promise that that'll happen, but I'll do my very best. How's that? That necessarily involves me checking out the YouTube feed and having to do two things. You see, you know what the thing is with technology? My producer, my producer is on vacation today, so it means I gotta do it all. And I look like a dumbass as I'm clicking from there to there because there's 2 television screens now. 2. Can you imagine how awesome that would be, like, when you're watching porn? I mean, sports. Double your pleasure, double the fun. So, yeah. You gotta pick. You gotta pick, right? Your prizes. And I'm looking. Okay, so it's very simple. You see, you see our sponsors up there? Go visit them. Pick a record. If you like the record and we do audience participation and it's really good audience participation, then you're going to get a prize. You're going to get records. And that's kind of awesome. I mean, come on. Let's face it. Who doesn't like free records, right? And I fucking hate the fact that I don't know how to do this, you know? This might be just a little too challenging for me. On the menu is exactly what you see down there, and I'm going to have it up for myself so I can take a look at it myself. More Facebook news. I guess I'll give you the ongoing saga of what happened on Facebook and what we did to fix it. Then audience participation is you guys. I have something in mind. We really like giving records away, and our sponsors make that happen. So I want to get you guys involved because all the bullshit that happened with Facebook, guess what? It's going to add up to something that I think can be really cool. At least that's what I'm hoping for. So we'll talk about that a little more. Pick your prizes. Like I said, we'll talk about what's next because there are some things that are just a matter of time, working them out. And on to that, we go to reviews, right? And reviews necessarily mean we start off with Notorious B.I.G. Ready to Die, his debut LP, which was Vinyl Me Please's album of the month. So we'll check that one out. We'll also talk about Queens of the Stone Age Villains, the new one. Sounds different. What did you guys think? One thing that I'm really enjoying about the forum and communicating with you guys is that if I get the box late and I haven't had a chance to listen to it myself, I often get the records not like the day on they come out, right? I'll get them after sometimes, so it's cool to be able to post that and kind of see what you guys have to say about it, because frankly, I mean, that matters to me more than a review, but we've gone over this territory, right? So, yeah, the records have quite a bit to offer this week. I'll also be talking about the National Sleep Well Beast sister, Rosetta Tharpe, live in 1960, smoking. Okay, and Joe Henderson, The Elements. That ought to keep us busy for a little while. After that, I guess we're going to pick 2 winners, and all of that will come from people who have shared the stream and helped us do what we do, and those who participate nicely. You know? Like, you remember when you were in kindergarten and you had to cross the street and you had, like, that chick in the front, and then you had a chick in the middle, and then you had a chick all the way at the end, but there was just one big rope with, like, handles, and all of us had to handle it, and you used to have to wear these really loud orange bibs, and it's basically like ducks crossing. You don't really have a choice. You can't crush the kids, so... Cheers. Okay, I was a kid in the 70s. That wasn't me, but that's what I see all the time, you know? You live in the suburbs and kids hanging onto those little fucking ropes. You know, and the bibs. I'm thinking for extra safety, what we should do is we should strap every child on with a helmet, elbow and knee pads before they go out, before they step outside the house. And an oxygen mask and bubble wrap. That shit works too. Yeah, get some bubble wrap up in this bitch. Yeah. So, this is what happened, right? Facebook. Why should we talk about Facebook? Fucking Facebook. What it is that they did was, during the tests, right? Look, I don't think that I'm hiding the fact that this is all new here. It sounds great now. We're working at it, but, you know, it's a new format, and I think for me, that's kind of the pleasure. You know, it's like, strap in, man. If you watch the first episode compared to now, fuck, we've come far. Let's see how much further we can go. I got plans and I plan to work at it. So to me, the idea of a grassroots audience, you know, somebody that was there from the first one, yeah, that matters to me. You know, from people who were there from the page, I kind of think of the Howard Stern audience, right? And you have all the fans. And I mean, I really started becoming a regular listener of Stern. I mean, during the serious years, Artie Lang years were my favorite. But during the late 80s and 90s, I still used to have a friend that I used to work with. I was a telemarketer at the Gazette. The Montreal Gazette. I used to sell those those newspaper subscriptions on the telephone. You remember those landlines? Those fuckers that used to wake you, like they used to just come right at supper time? That was me, man. You put me through university and you made sure that I wasn't homeless. So every Montrealer that bought a Gazette newspaper subscription from 86 to maybe 95, thanks. Because eating macaroni and cheese every day, craft dinner, you know. When it's the weekend, you kind of like go a little bit surf and turf. So what you'll do is you'll get a box of high-grade hot dogs and kind of like cut them up in there, you know, to get a little bit more protein kind of deal. But poverty sucks. That's really the deal. Why am I talking about poverty? You guys really need to put me back on track. I'm going to follow one of these threads to see what you have to say. And I forgot what I was talking about. I'm sorry. What am I talking about? What am I talking about? What was I talking about? Please. I'm confused now. Oh, there's too much happening at once. My brain is like too many fucking screens. I think I may have bitten off more than I can chew. The good part about that, you know what it is? You can laugh at me while I do this, because man, this is really too much. You know what I'm saying? Don't let the kids outside until they're 17. Okay, I'm going to follow the YouTube chat. I think that's what needs to happen here. In the meanwhile, Geezer just stopped, so we're going to put more. Side 2 of this is actually quite a bit heavier. What the fuck was I talking about? Facebook. This somehow comes back to Facebook, right? This show is an absolute disaster right now. Don't think I don't know that, but I'm kind of okay with that. Facebook, while it is that I was trying to put together the show and learning to do this entire thing, which I didn't know how to do a couple of weeks ago, right? I would play some music in the background, much like I'm playing right now. And what would happen is I'd do these tests and basically ask people, hey, tell me what's going on, you know? Does it sound good? And all this. And they would. And then the copyright notices started coming from Facebook saying, you have violated copyright. So they turned me off to the live thing for 48 hours. So I wasn't able to do it. And it's like, fuck this, right? So then there's this entire thing of third-party ads because they don't want that in their broadcast either. So what it's led to is a funny bit of technology which is fucking confusing me like a deer in headlights. I now have two separate Wirecast feeds, okay? One Wirecast feed is for those fuckers on Facebook, and the other Wirecast feed is for everybody else on the internet. And that one has third-party ads, and it's got all kinds of flashy things. It looks like a really neat audio-visual high school product, you know? Project, I should say. So, if you want the real feed, and you're wondering what the fuck I'm talking about when I say you can win some records, go to the YouTube feed. There's some stuff up there. Click on it, or take a look at the addresses, and that's it. All right, I'm going to talk about two new things, okay? I'm telling you that it's two because you're probably going to have to keep me on track again. The fact that I had this trouble with the copyright made it so that I started paying real attention to what music I'm playing, which of course led to our master, my personal Lord and Savior, Wilf Carter, the yodeling Canadian cowboy. And we had a good old time with that, and we paid respect. But, you know, Wilf, we gotta go beyond Wilf. I mean, this is Vinyl Junkies after all, so you have to expand your horizons, right? So I started looking for music that I could play that was without copyright, and started sending emails to people, you know, to friends, musicians that I knew, released records independently, because I wanted to play a bit of music in the background, kind of like I'm doing now. I know it's not very loud, but, you know, just kind of like to provide a little something in the background. And that's where it is that I came up with the idea that I'd really like to do my part. Vinyl Junkies would like to do our part to help you guys get your music out there. So very much like I'm playing this Geezer album right now by STB, which was cleared, by the way, by STB Records. Okay, if you dig it, hey, check it, man. The record provides a very nice drone in the background, you know, and if it's your kind of thing, then it gives us a chance to provide an audience to independent bands. And there's nothing I would love more than that, man. I've always said good music is good music, man. It doesn't matter. If you got an audience of zero, like you even got to fucking convince your mother to buy a copy because it's the end of the month, you know, the welfare check arrives only in 2 days, so we got to fucking tighten our belt, man. That last can of chickpeas, it's a big can of chickpeas, but we got to spread it out a little bit. And yeah, so even if you're like one of those bands, you know, a crusty old punk band that couldn't afford to put out a shitty 7-inch single by themselves, so they had to get together another band, and, you know, everybody kind of put together their fucking lawnmower money to put out a split 7-inch. I can dig all of that, man. If it works, then it'd be the most amazing way to circumvent copyright issues with YouTube, Facebook, and everybody else in the universe. I mean, I'm going to talk about the Notorious B.I.G, but I can't play any Notorious B.I.G. I'm going to get taken down immediately. So, you know what? Keep your motherfucking music. We got independent artists, and I'd like to play your music instead. So for now, we got this one, and thrift store beauties are going to be played as well. That's news feature number 1. Number 2 actually is I would really like to be able to have some jingle music at the beginning, like outro and outro music, and I'm working on it. But if a band did that, I would definitely give you credit. You know, the community thing I think is pretty important when it comes to this, because, you know, the internet's a bitch, right? I mean, it can be a great thing because it provides you with an enormous audience, and you can get your music, your art out there to a bunch of people. But there's a big difference between getting your art out there to a bunch of people and getting them to buy it, and being able to make enough money so that you can support yourself as an artist. So I think the communities like this, it's important for us to do that for artists. And if you're big enough to have your material copyrighted, then congratulations, you're doing something right, and I hope that you're monetizing your position. That's fantastic. But you know what? If you haven't, and you still want somebody who will listen to it, we'll listen to it over here, man. Community, man. Always, always, always. Doesn't matter how big the band is. So that's number 2. Pick your prizes, all right? So now we're going to get into reviews. Hey, wait a second. Did somebody... who was the artist of the week that passed away this week? I don't remember. I remember only, what's his name? From Cannes. But somebody else died, right? Like a King Crimson guy or something? You guys know. So now we're going to go into reviews, alright? And the first review I'll do is Vinyl Me Please. September album of the month, which is what you see in the background there. And I'm going to put up the banner very nicely so that you can see what it's all about. It's actually, okay, whatever, I'll just leave it there. This arrived, what, Thursday, I guess? There's a whole story behind this particular release for Vinyl Me Please, and I've known about it, but wasn't able to share it, which is absolutely cool. But The cool thing is that if you haven't had the record, if you haven't gotten the record, it's on its way. So the story can be told now. I would like first off just to go on record as saying it's the most impressive release that Vinyl Me Please has made to date. Okay, for me on a number of levels, which I will go into. I mean, packaging was always something that they you know, they did well, so I guess if we gotta go there, even the inner is kind of like printed. In terms of the album art print that they give away with that, I think that it's probably, again, the nicest one ever. I actually saw on the Twitters that somebody took this and framed it, and you know, I'm not sure I'd frame it, but I can totally understand why somebody would do that. That's fucking ace picture. So you know what, it's so ace, we're gonna leave it right here for now so you can look at it. The sleeves are 100% printed, right? Check out the wax, man. Right? Right? Nice, right? Right. But no, you get two different colors, two different versions. Look at that. This one actually with the logo in the middle kind of reminds me of J Dilla Donuts. Now, in terms of packaging, like I said, you knew that they were going to nail it. In terms of the release, the reason it is that it speaks to me directly is because VMP's online store have really hit it out of the park when it comes to their hip-hop section, and managed effectively to introduce me or reintroduce me to hip-hop that I didn't really pay attention to the very first time around. Okay, so the early 90s, I mean, I started listening to hip-hop in the, you know, mid-80s type of thing, Public Enemy, Ice-T, that type of thing. But, you know, going into the 90s, the whole East Coast versus West Coast thing did somehow divide. It seems like the dumbest thing in the world, but yeah, it divided, right? And I just listened to West Coast stuff, and I don't think that I was particularly aware of the fact that I was choosing one over the other, because it wasn't about that. The West Coast just seemed to have a ton of funk and huge beats, and it didn't feel as slick. It felt a little bit, not raw, it wasn't that it was raw, but it felt just a little dirtier to me than the East Coast stuff. Now, I don't like fucking puff pastry, so right off for me, I guess I'll put this there too. Right off there for me, as soon as puff pastry is part of the picture, it's like, you know, the video era was still happening back then, so you had a bunch of guys kind of like flashing around their bling, and I don't know, not my thing. Honestly, the thought of growing up in a poor neighborhood and getting shot somehow is something that I related to more. But again, it wasn't about that, man. It was about the funk. It was about the funk beats, you know. Those were always my best things, and there was a little kind of synergy happening between hip-hop and funk. All those old samples had me going back to funk records, and it just became this ongoing spot the sample in a song, you know, that's obviously gone on until this day. All this is to say that, look, East Coast is something that I never did. So what happens is Vinyl Me Please puts a lot of this stuff out in their monthly store, which is actually opening this Monday. They have a hip-hop thing. I'll get to that. But they had a bunch of records that I just didn't listen to. Why? Puff pastry, right? Because you see this guy there just flashing money and doing this, and it's like, you know, he's got these big rings, and it's like, really? Didn't do it for me. But unfortunately, you know, I guess I got caught up in all of that, and didn't realize, as much as I do now, that you listen with your ears, you know. And had I done that and gotten around it, I would have probably started listening to stuff like Missy Elliott a whole lot earlier than I did. Ditto for Notorious B.I.G. So believe it or not, Notorious B.I.G. they had Life or Death or Death After Life. I forgot what that fucking record's like called, but that record, right, the brown one. So that came in, and I realized that I liked it. And then they put out the Missy Elliott record, the Super Duper Fly, which completely blew my mind. Right now, there's this this one that just came out, the Ready to Die. That's his debut album, and again, this is all new for me because sure, I've seen the videos and I've seen the bling, but I've never gone a whole lot further than that because the bling kind of stopped me from wanting to investigate any further. Videos aren't as prominent in trying to sell music anymore. I mean, they're there, but it's not the same thing, you know. The mouse click takes us wherever we want now, so there's no channels. So you listen to it a little later, 20 years after the fact, and realize this dude's flow is, yeah, man, I get it. And here I am, a mid-40s guy getting into music that came out while I was growing up, and it's still all new and fresh to me. And the one thing that I definitely see that's very similar between the two is East Coast versus West Coast is the fucking potty mouths on these guys. Jesus Christ, I can't play this music for my kid. And I don't know, do any of you guys have Niggas for Life? The second record without Ice Cube? You know, there's that whole part about, I don't want my kids listening to this bullshit. And I was like in my early 20s when all of this was coming out, so I was the furthest thing away from thinking about kids and listening to this. And now I'm exactly one of those guys that would love to play this music for my daughter, but I can't because I don't want her listening to this bullshit. I get it now. I guess that makes me old and irrelevant. But that's story number one when it comes to Notorious B.I.G. Can I tell you story number two? All of them have been mailed out, so if you haven't gotten yours, it's coming. But the way I hear it is that when Vinyl Me Please got the test pressings, they had, you know, licensed the record. They were going to put it out. They got the test pressings. Now, a lot of the samples were cleaned up, right? So for copyright, they removed a lot of stuff. And they got the record, and the test shows up with all the original samples and all the original skits and the swear words, the entire thing, the way it originally came out. And it's like, oh shit, I wonder if this is a mistake. Did they make a mistake by giving me this? Or was it that idea all along that they did want to give us the whole package? So they just kind of sat on that news for a little while until they sent out all the packages to everybody. And now you all have it, so if they made a mistake, if the record label made a mistake, they can't recall it anymore because it's in your hands. And that's what I call one hell of a fucking excellent chess play, and that's one hell of a way to look out for your fans, because as much as it is that I complain that I don't want my daughter listening to that bullshit, I also don't want somebody choosing which version I should listen to. So if the artist intended it that way, well, I'm gonna listen to it, you know. So yeah, that was a very, very cool thing on behalf of VMP. Can I also tell you something else? You're gonna like this in terms of the winners. We're gonna pick two winners, right? One from Vinyl Me Please. You can check out the link up there. Pick your prize. Visit the website. The other one from Org Music, and we'll be talking about a record that just came out. They just put out Sister Rosetta Tharpe live in Europe, 1960. But what we're going to do is add as a possibility something that's no longer available as of a couple of days ago. And that is the Notorious B.I.G. Ready to Die, what just came out. Those are the pre-sale for all of that. You can't buy them anymore. That's what I'm trying to say. You can't buy them anymore. But I'll be able to swing a copy and get one of you hip-hop heads a copy of that record right there. If you want it. Cool, right? Fucking right, it's cool. So, yeah, that's my Notorious B.I.G. We'll move on now, shall we? And I think I'm going to change the background also, the background music. Just cleaning up the dust buffalo that accumulated under my Soundsmith SMM-C3 stylus. Very fucking good stylus. Oh, very, very good stylus, I promise. I am not lying. This long banner, we're going to get rid of it for now, okay? We're just going to have one. What do you think? So now we're going to talk about Queens of the Stone Age. That right there, okay? You know what just happened? The record just hit a lock groove at the very beginning of the record, so it won't play.
Fun happened at her home was sure to start a fight, and for that reason we would take a walk each Wednesday night.
Thank you. Thank you, Wolf. Down by the railroad tracks.
I'd hold her hand and she'd hold mine.
Down by the railroad tracks.
Some people spoon in parlor chairs and some in night.
There is no getting away, Wilf. There is no getting away from Wilf. You fucking take it. You take it and you like it. You listen to Wilf. You must.
For that reason you would find sweet Annabelle and me.
Sing with me. Down by the railroad tracks.
Down by the railroad track. We'd sit for hours and hours and hours.
Down and
the
then.
railroad track.
See, he's even laughing while he's singing. He's fucking chuckling himself up. It's so funny. Wilf, you're a regular old comedian. So yeah, the Vinyl Me Please box came in, and the new Queens of the Stone Age record, Villains, was part of that, and down by the railroad track. I don't really know Queens of the Stone Age beyond Songs for the Deaf. You can't even hear it. But I knew that record a lot when it came out. You know, it was one of those things that would, you know, it's kind of like a gas pedal cruncher. Just really loud and noisy and obnoxious, and that's always what I liked. Other than that, I think what Era Vulgaris came out, and I knew that single, Sick, 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 and, you know, the fucking light bulb. That was kind of awesome too, but I can't say that I know a whole lot more than that, so I guess what I'm doing is prefacing this entire conversation by telling you that my opinion on Queens of the Stone Age is limited, and I actually don't really know what I'm talking about, but you know what? I played the record 3 times, and for what that's worth, I enjoyed it and know that I will continue playing it. The first thing that immediately, like, I mean, it's just the most obvious thing, is it's not Songs for the Deaf. It's not a metal record. It's not a metal record. It's just not a heavy record necessarily. Although it does contain heavy. I'll get into that. But the deal is that sorry, Wilf he gets to me. He warms the cockles of my soul, and what happens is I lose track. I have him right here in my Canadian heart, old Wilf. I mean, look at this man. Look at this man! What was I saying? What was I saying? Sorry, I gotta go to my screen now to keep myself in contact. We were talking about Queens of the Stone Age. Yeah, the first thing is, you know, not metal. That's the first thing that really immediately came to mind. The second thing is that it sounded a whole lot like David Bowie. I mean, Jesus, what's the name of that frontman guy? Josh Ohm, is that his name? Wow, man, talk about summoning the spirit of 70s era, even 80s era David Bowie. It was great, man. It is great. It's great, right? Now, the thing is like I said, it was a little bit of a, it caught me a little bit off balance because my real experience of Queens of the Stone Age is heavy stuff. So, once I just listened to it for what it was, it's like, this is really well-written stuff with great hooks. And it sounds like it's written by an artist that just doesn't give a fuck what you think in terms of style, you know? And the reason I'm mentioning that is because you talk to the stoner rock people and the doom people, just metal people in general, and I guess they have it in every scene, but that's the scene I relate most to. And, you know, it's kind of like an offshoot of the Metallica argument, which is to say that, you know, anything after Caius doesn't matter. And when you start talking about Queens of the Stone Age, anything after, some of them stop at Rated R and others stop at Songs for the Deaf. But there's just that whole fucking music snobbery that comes from people who just listened to the entire thing. So I guess it's with that spirit in mind that I'll tell you that I've now only listened to 2 Queens records, and I get 2 different experiences, and I'm not, I don't know more than that, so my opinion, take it for what it is. Ultimately, what I think you should do is listen to the record yourself, and if you like David Bowie, and if you like really well-written songs by somebody who just very clearly is doing what he likes and loves, it's just, go for it. You know, there was even an element in there, in this record, where it's kind of like, I felt like there was this rockabilly vibe to it, but at one point, I think midway through side 1, sorry, I don't know titles, man, but midway through side 1, I started thinking to myself, you know, if Lemmy heard this record, chances are he'd love it, because it's what Lemmy just always described as rock and roll. He wasn't very fond, Lemmy wasn't very fond of metal. He didn't give a fuck what you wanted to call it. To him, it was all rock and roll. So, I think that's what you're getting here with the new Queens of the Stone Age record. You're just getting a good old rock and roll record, and it doesn't sound anything like Songs for the Deaf or anything that I had heard from them before, but it's melodic and I dig it, and I'm probably going to play it right after this show. Can you imagine? I mean, for myself, because if I play even a nanosecond of this, I will get taken off. So, fuck you, Facebook. Alright, so now we're going to talk about the National. The new album is called Sleep Well Beast, and it's a very good album. Now look, again, I'm going to get with a disclaimer and tell you that my opinion on the National means absolutely zero. Up to just a couple of months ago, I didn't even know the National existed, so I'm not going to pretend to be a fan or try to impress you with that. On the other hand, right, one of the things that I've always liked about VMP is that they introduce you to other music. I got to hear Boxer and I loved it. And then realized what their reputation, the National's reputation as a grower band was all about. Listening to the Boxer made me realize that I needed to know more, okay? And of course, the album that all of you guys, all of the quote-unquote fans talk about all the time is Alligator, I think it's called, right? Motherfucker. So, I haven't heard a note of Alligator yet, but I want to. But this is the new one, right? And when Vinyl Me Please put out that their version of Boxer, it came with a bonus 7-inch record. I think that was last month. Does that make sense? It came with a bonus 7-inch of 2 songs off the new album. So I thought that, I mean, I've told Hessler at the VMP, to me, that's really one of the areas that wins big points when it comes to VMP, because it harkens back to the old way of shilling music, you know, just old-fashioned 45. But it made me anticipate this new National record a little bit more, and sure enough, you know, the minute it is that I dropped the needle on it, I realized, okay, it's going to take a while. It's a grower. That's not to say that it doesn't have its hooks in you immediately. It does, but a big part of the National seems to be the lyrics. Okay, and I'm pretty sure that there's fans, diehards out there that are saying, this motherfucker knows nothing about the band. Yeah, you're right, you know, but it takes a while. You don't just listen to a record twice and figure out what the lyrics are, you know. You got to play it a bunch of times, and but those are usually the records that yield the greatest results, right? The ones that are deep, many layers. So this is another one of those. One thing that it reminded me of, just off the top of my head, was... Thank you, Wilf. Thank you. Thank you, Wilf. So that's the deal, right? Now you see I have to get back on track. So this whole Wilf thing, Wilf is just such a wonderful distraction. You guys will have to deal with it. I realize it makes the show suck, so what can I say? Wilf, alright? You gotta wear it in your soul. You gotta wear it in your soul. Just like good old Rita McNeil. What album was I talking about? The National. Yeah, the first thing that it reminded me of was the mid-80s. A momentary lapse of reason, right? Pink Floyd, the big comeback record without Roger Waters, and David Gilmour was at the front, and it kind of had this sort of 80s. It has a different feel, and this National record kind of reminds me of that. The production actually is very reminiscent of the 80s also. So that caught me, and the songs kind of speak for themselves. Like I said, I've listened to it twice. Can't go further than to tell you that I'll listen to it a lot, because I got the package on Thursday. I didn't have time to listen to it. What do you want me to say? Big problem to have, eh? First world problems. So, can I show you something else? Can I show you something else that's cool? The packaging is really kind of like they got these cutout things in the sleeves, which is kind of cool. And this is white, and I don't know, white is some variant, but as far as I know, blue is another variant. Oh, another thing that I can say about this National record. I have heard a mixed things. I heard even say that there's some filler in there. I don't know the record well enough to say that. I didn't feel that way. But for those of you who have given the record, you know, 5, 6 listens, did you feel like there's any filler to it? What's funny is that the title that came up, the title in question was Turtleneck. Now, again, I don't know the names of songs, but I didn't pick out any quote-unquote weak links. But I heard one person mention Turtleneck as one of the weak links, and I mentioned another person mention the exact same song, Turtleneck, as the song that they just play obsessively over and over again, and the one that they like the most. When I think turtleneck, I think of an uncircumcised penis, you know, because Sal Governale, they just keep referring to his uncircumcised penis as a turtleneck, and you listen to enough Stern, eventually that kind of just gets burnt into your skull, because Sal and Richards are really, really great dumbasses. I love them. So I think that's all I got to say about the National. Ooh, what am I missing here? We'll do that over, sorry. Holy fuck, that's a lot of old yodeling. Is he still yodeling? Can you believe it? I'll get to the next record. Don't worry about it. I promise. I'll talk about Pharoah Sanders. Or who the fuck is it? It's Joe Henderson. I'll talk about Joe Henderson. How could I not talk about Joe Henderson? He's awesome. I never knew about this record. This was part of the VMP box as well. I'm talking. Why? Thank you. Thank you, Wilf. I might just lay off the music for a little bit. So, Henderson. Joe Henderson. I'm mostly familiar with Joe Henderson from his Blue Note years. There used to be this box set that came out back then that just had all of his Blue Note recordings. 5 CD box set. I don't even want to know how many vinyl records it would be if that came out, but fuck, I think I still have it, actually. Yeah, it's right there. Great, great, great box set. And the minute I mean, I always kind of associated his sound. He's got a very rich saxophone sound, and I always kind of like associated Joe Henderson mostly with ballads. And then suddenly I see this record come out that I never saw before. It's a reissue by Jazz Dispensary behind me. Joe Henderson with Alice Coltrane on the harp and Charlie Hayden on bass. I mean, this is Impulse alumni, so although the record was put out on Milestone Records, the fact that I never knew about it just obviously makes it so anybody who likes spiritual jazz will probably dig this. But yeah, it was just the first spin for me, and I played it and immediately heard the continuation of the late period Coltrane and the late period, or the, you know, spiritual jazz movement. There's more of that. Of course, Alice Coltrane adds to that, but one thing that caught me by surprise as I was listening was so much percussion that caught me completely off guard, because while it is that Joe Henderson is really encapsulating the spirit of what John Coltrane was doing at the end of his career, all of a sudden you hear these tablas and you hear this crazy percussion happening, and he starts getting all up into the voodoo. And it's like, motherfucker, man, he's got the 70s jazz fusion, fucking dirty ass Miles Davis funk vibe happening too. You know, it's like, whoa. When I heard it, I hadn't checked out the liner notes. It's like, is this Matumi? You know, because Matumi played on all played percussion on all the Miles Davis stuff during the 70s, but it evoked that vibe immediately. And it's a record I can say unequivocally that if you like this kind of music, spiritual jazz, if you like late period Train or Archie Shepp, or you know, you're curious about that, Jazz Dispensary really curated this one perfectly. It's a wonderful record. It's one that I didn't know about, so maybe it's got that extra little flavor that makes it that much more of a quote-unquote dig for me, but I would certainly suggest it to anybody that likes that style. What is it, 1973 or something? Good record. I think we're down to the last one, eh? Is this the last record? Yeah, this is the last one. All right, man. Sister Rosetta Tharpe. This one's available on the Org Music site as well. Go check that out and pick anything you want, man. We'll be happy to send you one. But this just came out recently, and one of the first things that comes to mind when I hear about a new Sister Rosetta Tharpe record coming out is, fuck, I'm glad that I work with people that put out records like that. It's nice to know that they're still there are still people who are putting out records that won't appeal, to, 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 there are still people not putting out something with the intention of selling 10,000 copies of it. Sister Rosetta Tharpe is pretty simple, man. This set was recorded in 1960 in Europe. There's almost no liner notes to speak of. In terms of packaging, it's, I don't know, the vinyl's colored something or other, but other than that, not much. You know, there's not a whole lot of information happening. But recorded in 1960 in Europe, and it's just about as raw as you want it to be. The thing that struck me immediately, first of all, just to give you a bit of background, it's one of those artists that you listen to any of the geezers and they'll just keep name dropping Sister Rosetta Tharpe, and I've never had a record, never had anything. So it's always been on my radar, very much like Coco Taylor or why are no other blues ladies coming to mind all of a sudden, but Bessie Smith, all of the blues ladies, man. If I see him, I buy him immediately. Ma Rainey, Big Maybelle. So, Sister Rosetta Tharpe, you know, I'd always heard about her voice, but I always kind of got this feeling like she was, you know, the blues version of, I don't know, Aretha Franklin, or the gospel version of Aretha Franklin. But what struck me on this record is how very basic her guitar playing is. It's fucking backwoods, man. She's just there with an electric guitar and playing, and she's got a kick drum with her, so she kicks the kick drum every once in a while, and very often she actually loses herself in the beat, so you kind of like hear her kind of catch herself, but it doesn't matter because she's there and she's doing the Lord's work. And once she opens her mouth and she begins singing, whoa, whoa, I'll listen to her sing about Jesus all day long. And then suddenly, you know, you kind of realize the authenticity of this music, and, you know, that's what blues is to me. With respect to Stevie Ray Vaughan or, you know, British blues or all of that, to me, that's never been blues. To me, blues is something that you're born with. It's you know, you listen to Sister Rosetta Tharpe and you can hear in her inflection, you can hear it in her backwoods accent, you can hear it in just the rawness of the music, the power of her voice, and the fact that she can barely play her instrument, but she plays it enough to just keep her singing about Jesus. And to me, you know, you hear that and it's like, wow, man, this woman's probably just a couple of generations removed from fucking slavery. There's an authenticity that blows me away immediately. And the fact that the guitar playing is really primitive adds to it. It doesn't subtract. If you see a copy of this record, in other words, and you're a blues fan, or, you know, if you're actually a gospel fan, but you want something that's rawer than Mahalia Jackson, yo, like, you're not fucking around, man. That is one hell of a record. I'm thrilled to have it, and I'm glad that labels like Org Music put stuff out like this, and vinyl clubs like Vinyl Me Please see fit to put out exclusive pressings and give that out there as well. It's available in both stores, and couldn't suggest it more. In terms of the VMP shop, that's opening in on Monday. It's opening on Monday. So all of the records practically that you're seeing here are available except for that Notorious B.I.G. If you want that one, you got to ask for it by name. Visit our sponsors at Soundsmith, visit our sponsors at Org Music and at Vinyl Me Please. Pick your prize, and one of you is going to win their choice from Vinyl Me Please, which opens on Monday for the member store, and the other one from Org Music. And I'm done talking, man. I'm totally done talking. I actually missed a whole bunch of things because I realized that trying to self-produce, and it's nice to want to do all these visuals, but it's too much, man. Only one person doing it, it doesn't work. I lost myself a lot during this entire thing, so hey, what can I say, man? Next time it'll get better, right? Graham Humphrey. Now you get on? Dude, now you get on? It's over. This shit's over. Paul is dead. Let's see. We're looking for winners. Let's see who's here. Oh, fuck. Alright. Nobody picked winners. You know who's gonna pick winners? I'm picking winners. You guys are gonna stick with me? Let me take a look at these questions. Sorry, these comments. Who do I give this to? The show's over, by the way. I'm not going to say anything interesting anymore, so hang up the phone, man. Oh, can I tell you what else is coming soon? Live phone calls is coming soon. Like, I'm going to get you guys a number that you can call into the show live, and we can nerd out on records together. We're going to give that a try with the full understanding that it might be a complete disaster, and I'm okay with that. Who gives a fuck? We're learning, man. We're learning. Nothing wrong with doing it raw. No Vaseline. No Vaseline. Who wins? We're going to give a prize to a dude that's called We Are Very Loud. You are going to win Nina Simone Sings the Blues. Okay, courtesy of Vinyl Me Please. Now we're going to pick another one. We'll talk reggae, Mark. Don't worry about it. Reggae's coming. I'm just trying to find another winner. I don't know how to do this. Here we go. I found people. Yeah, Husker Du is who I was talking about. I didn't even get to pour out a drink. I didn't open up a beer this time because, I don't know. I'm drinking coffee, and I don't want to pour coffee on the carpet because coffee will dirty the carpet, you know. So I'm just not that gangsta. Fuck. Live phone calls. Let's talk reggae. You talk reggae. Tim Esham. Tim Esham. You're working. You are risking your job to watch this live. You're a dumbass. You're a dumbass. Go to work. Stop paying attention. You just want a record. Org Music. Go to Org Music. Pick a record. It's yours. And, I hope next week I won't be as lost as I was this week. It's a fucking disaster trying to pay attention to two screens and trying to manage two streams. It's a complete disaster. This show sucked balls. Donkey balls. But that's what it is. And you're going to tune in if you want to next week. And I'm like the little engine that could. I vow to do better. I think I could. I think I could. I think I could. The show is over. Go enjoy the rest of your weekend, man. Thanks for